I got the speedrun world record for Get Higher. Sledgehammer posted my 9:10 a few days ago, but here's me beating that record again. Just like my last video, I'll let the full speedrun playthrough first, and then I'll go in depth on the skips, as well as explain why this run is faster than the previous ones. Let's get to it. Darn it. What's your new controller? I have a scuff reflex iridescent. I'm not using it right now because I don't want to mess it up. I'm spamming my left stick. But earlier today while I was on ranked, I used the scuff reflex. PS5. Oh. Oh. I still don't make that, actually. Yeah, I don't. Alright, time to lock in. Come on, come on, come on, come on. We still made it. Let's go. Salvage it. Could I have made that? Maybe. Maybe. Alright, see if I can hit death jump. Nice. Ah! I needed that. $9.13! Get him off me, man! Let's go, baby. So starting off here on the very beginning of the run, if you remember the previous video of the other speed run, Pretty much most of the beginning can be taken pretty slowly. The run doesn't necessarily matter until the green platforms, which I'll show you. I've skipped that green platform once or twice before, so if you want to get a world record for yourself, I'll show you an example of how I do that, and how you can do that for yourself. I don't do it this run, but I'll pull up the other video once we get there. The only thing is, it's only possible for you to make that green platform skip maybe once every 20 games, if that. So it's not very consistent. And then on top of that, you have to get the harder jumps like the dolphin dive skip and the plane skip. And then the first dolphin dive skip from the rotating cylinders too. So whoever can ice it up and put all the skips together into one gameplay is going to have the fastest time of all. But I'll show you where that is a little bit later. Diving off the right side of this, here is where that first cycle skip would happen. I try to do it right here, but you see the RNG of the green block spawn. If I went for that jump, it would have pulled me backwards and I wouldn't have been able to make it. But as we continue through here, we'll get to checkpoint 4 as I wait on the green blocks. And then once we get there, I'll show you what it looks like if you get that cycle skip. So here at the center block, this is the point in time where you can make the run faster or slower. Before this, it's all about the same. And now this is a separate run. We're going back to checkpoint 3. I'll show you what it looks like when you can skip those blocks. You'll see the RNG gets that left block a little bit slower than the other one. And now I'm able to jump on it, make it across to this platform. Then I can jump on here early. And at the very last second, I'm able to catch these green blocks. I mantle up before laying down, and then I get that cycle skip. So you'll see I'm way far ahead of that center block that I'm on the world record run. The only problem is, instead of continuing this run and getting a world record, I die to the red wall. But going back to checkpoint 4 of the world record, you'll see this is the center block that I was talking about before, that pretty much everybody is going to get to on their runs unless you get extremely lucky. And so I continue this following along the path. I take the right rail so that I'm closer to these elevators on the right side. The goal obviously would be to take the one on the right, but the timing didn't work out in my favor, so I take the one on the middle. I jump at the very end of this one, so the physics still push me up once that block moves. It's kind of weird how that works, but for whatever reason, the physics of whatever platform that you leave from still apply to your body even as you're midair. And if we go back to this red wall right here, even though I get pushed off because I jump midair, the physics of the last object that I touch, which is the red wall, you know how they go out and then back in. Since it goes back in and I'm turning towards it, my body is pushed back towards the wall. It's not very consistent, but that is a way to salvage any runs that otherwise would have gotten messed up by the red walls. So I skip that right elevator, which is not ideal because I want to get to these red walls that I can dolphin dive off of. Normally, I would be able to sit here and chill for one cycle before jumping up. Because I didn't make this elevator on the right and instead took the one on the left, I really had to rush it. If you find yourself in the left elevator, what you need to do is jump between those so you can get up here as fast as possible, and then beeline it straight for the very end. To get it consistently, all that you need to do is wait until this wall on your left is directly next to you and you're able to run down. Once you're able to run down this without getting pushed off, that's when you know that this next wall is on its way, and you just dolphin dive from it right when you get there, and it brings you up to the checkpoint. The rest of the run is pretty straightforward. We talked about this jump on the last time. We also talked about turning to the right so that you get a short mantle. That didn't quite work out in my favor this time. And the rest of the run kind of continues. I still stay on the right side, even though I'm pretty sure the left side is faster, where that shortcut is. Given that this part of the run is able to be changed and you're not waiting on many platforms, I probably should go in depth and time that to make sure it's faster or slower. But for now, I just did that based out of comfort. That's the fastest way up the snakes. And if you go back, you can see that I'm jumping early on some of them and then running up to other ones just to try to get as many short mantles as possible. The less that you can long mantle these, the faster that it'll be. I'm also looking at my tack sprint bar on the left. Right before I jump up into this part of the plane, I'm not going straight up to the wall and jumping because that would take my tack sprint bar down. I'm jumping before I get there and purposefully doing a longer mantle so that my tack sprint bar stays up. The reason I'm doing that is to get enough tack sprint to do that skip right there. So I long mantle up and then I slide to keep my tack sprint bar at that point. And then I have enough tack sprint to do that jump and short mantle that skip into the plane. Now up here, you know about the dolphin dive skip. If you haven't already, this is the worst one in the game. It is the most difficult to get down consistently, and it will ruin so many good runs. I look out and get it on the second try. I attribute my somewhat consistent dive to having a very similar setup. I stay on the back side of that block, staring at the front corner of the block, Then I run, turn to the left, and dive. You want to aim more left than you think. As you'll see, I overshoot it to the point of looking at the plane, and that's how you know that you've given yourself enough rotational momentum to actually get close to the dive. You'll see my first attempt was close, but I didn't look as far left as I did on the second try, which is why I didn't quite make it as far. So here on the second attempt, you'll see my cursor goes all the way to that side of the plane, and that's what gives me the distance to make that dive. Extremely difficult, but the more consistent you can get that, the more attempts that you have of breaking a world record, which is where we are here. Now this part of the plane, you jump up the right side, then on top of the fin before backing up, and I get very lucky by making that block there. This is kind of what's nice about me pretty much having the record beforehand, although I think I was down by 1 point. Zach had posted a 9:12 and I ended up beating that here. But kind of the leisure of already having a record is that I can take risks like this. Normally, I would wait for that block to go through because I didn't want to chalk a really good run. But the fact that I have had a record on top of the fact that I missed that dolphin dive on the first try earlier kind of maybe kick it into another gear to make sure that I can make up for any lost time. And I end up doing that. I'm pretty sure we went over this jump a little more in depth last time, but in case you didn't watch the first video, you want to jump on top of the fin and then slowly back up. As you back up, you jump, hit your head on top of that green platform, and then you can turn and levitate over to the side. It's a crazy looking jump, but it's more consistent than you might think. Continuing the rest of the run here, we mantle up, hit our head at the 45-degree angle that we talked about before. I get a decent mantle on that side before shooting and then jumping on top of the wall. Get that same mantle. I might have been able to make that, but I still think that the timing would have been about the same. We take the railings here. I normally don't go this route. I like the right-sided route, but because my ladder was on the left side, I ended up taking this way. We still make the right platform, which we would have made otherwise. And just like we said on the previous video, to make this one more simple, if you jump on the right side of the platform, stay on the right side of the platforms. If you jump on the left side, stay on the left side. We get the decent timing for this right elevator, which is consistent across the 910, 911, 912 range. And then here is where the run can truly be changed. The difference between 910, 911, 912, and 913 is going to be the final bit of the run here. A lot of this is consistent. There aren't too many skips that you can do, but the one thing that's been stopping me up until this point is not being able to make it around this orange wall. And as you see, I dive across to do that. That was extremely risky because if I get bumped up by the wall as I'm diving, it would fly me off the map. But at this point, I've made it here on so many timings and never made it around that orange wall that I knew I had to take a risk by doing this. And it ends up paying out for me. So I make the other side of that orange wall. I'm able to run along here. I'm out of tack sprint, so I'm not as fast as I would like to be. And I should have jumped for this, but I don't think I would have made it. This would have been the difference between a 911, 912, and maybe like a 915, 916 if I can make that platform. But unfortunately, I didn't. I chickened out, and I went to the one on the right. However, I make up for it here by having the fastest final obstacle that I've ever had. I got absolutely blessed on the timing and then end up getting the 913. Going back to this checkpoint again, if I were to do this part again, what I might do is stay on the left side of this obstacle because I'm going to be aiming for that slow left block of the elevators over here. If I did that, that might have been the difference maker, or even if I jumped more to the left off of this one, it might have been the difference between making that obstacle and not making it. However, after watching this, I'm not sure that would even be possible unless I get some God timing. Regardless, we still make the platform here and get absolutely blessed with the platforms going up. Just 2 jumps and then I'm already at the end. I land right at 1013, right before it turns to 1012, which would have been the difference between 913 and 912. And there you have it. There's your current world record. I'm sure this will be beaten, probably due to the green platform skips that I was talking about at the very beginning. But until then, the 913 is going to stay. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you next time at lunchtime.